you're watching Living Life with a Twist, and today I'm going to be talking about eggplant, and it's going to be about canning eggplant. But it's not going to be the normal eggplant that you might find in your grocery store. It's going to be more specialized or more exotic. Maybe that's a better word to say. And that's actually going to be Japanese eggplant. Now this is just a tiny one, and you're going to see some bigger ones when I get in the kitchen and show you how we can around here. But we love Japanese eggplant in this house because it has a better flavor, it's sweeter, and unlike the black beauties where they are the very large eggplants that you see, perhaps in Italian cooking, the French call it aubergine, those tend to be bitter. And so you have to cut those, salt those, let them sit for a while, wash them. There's a lot more handling in how you actually prepare those eggplants versus this lovely Japanese eggplant. So I'm going to say, if you like this video or anything else, please hit thumbs up, subscribe, please share. Let me know how you can, or if you like this, or just any of your thoughts about eggplant. And I'm going to get in the kitchen and get right to it. You're going to really like this easy peasy canning recipe. I know we love it here in our house. Thanks, y'all. Okay, y'all, here we are in the kitchen, and as I told you, we were going to be canning Japanese eggplant, not the large eggplant that you often see in the store or the French call aubergine. Those tend to be very bitter. But what we love about the Japanese eggplant is that these are smaller and not bitter, so you don't have to do much preparation to them to actually eat. Now, these have been grown in our garden, and I say our garden loosely because really Mom and Ed, it's their garden. But we use neem to keep any kind of insects off, so that is our pesticide-free. If you know anything about neem, you can look that up on Google, and it's going to bring it up and tell you all about that wonderful plant and the things that it does, and it's from India, that area of Asia. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just show you my supplies, and of course we're going to put it up on the side so that you know, in a text so you can see exactly, and it will be down below as well. This supplies and recipe. Okay, so I have some Japanese eggplant here because for the interest of time, I'm just going to do one to show you, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how we do the canning. This couldn't be simpler. So as I said, I have several of the Japanese eggplant. I have the Morton's canning and pickling salt, which I actually have in a little container right here for ease of use. And then I have this distilled white vinegar. We keep this bottle and just refill it out of a large gallon bottle because what I'm going to be doing, you'll see later on in the video, is to clean the top. And then we're going to be packing it not just with the salt, but with some extra virgin olive oil. Now you could use whatever oil you want, but this is what we want. This does give some flavor, and it just all comes together in the most wonderful eggplant taste. I just can't tell you how wonderful and sweet, and oh, I just love it. The first time we did this, I was like, I claim all jars. Okay, so we're going to start here with the Japanese eggplant. As you can see, these are smaller. The flesh is very tender. So really all I'm going to be doing is removing this right here, and this one's kind of smaller, so what I'm really going to be doing is trying to measure, because I'm going to be cutting lengthwise to about right here, because we have to pack it really good so that there's no air bubbles in there. We don't need anything exploding, and that's just the way that you have to do it. So as I said, this is Japanese eggplant, not the other eggplant that's huge and bitter, and you have to cut it up and salt it and wash it and do all that. So these are off of our plants. They have been cleaned, and let's get started. Okay, so because this flesh is so tender, I don't even worry about this. The bottom of it, I don't cut it off because there's nothing wrong with not eating that. But I am going to get rid of the top here, and I do have my trash bowl to the side. And I'm just taking off the top because I want to get as much of this eggplant as I can in there. So I'm going to do this really quickly. Now, if you live in a big city, I'm sure you could find Japanese eggplant at a Whole Foods, a fresh market, maybe a local farmer's market. We live in Mississippi, so for us, what we have to do is we have to grow it ourselves. And it is excellent, and it grows like wildfire, I don't know, whatever you want to say. Point is, it grows very fast. So I'm just going to be taking the tops off right now, and then I'm going to start to cut lengthwise. But actually, let me back that up. So I know about right here. And I'm going to keep this top for something else. Okay, so because I have that guide, I'm going to just cut like so. And this is just fine, as you can see. So I'm going to start cutting lengthwise. And these are, you know, they're not terribly thick nor thin. I'm hoping you can see that on the camera. You know, you can make it as thick or as thin as you want. Once it goes into the pressure canner, it's going to cook inside the canned liquid with the olive oil and the salt. So I'm going to continue to cut these slices. I have a very sharp knife. It is excellent. I love this knife. It's been probably my mom has had this as long as she's had me. So let's get this sliced up. And just be very careful. I mean, nobody ever wants to get to cutting anything and cut themselves, but you know, these are roundish, oblongish, however you want to say. So you just want to be careful in how you do it. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to begin to pack this one particular can, the jar, I should say. And that's going to be perfect around there. And I'm just going to kind of do this so that it would fit together. Actually, I'm going to take the little end off that one. It was just a little bit taller than I wanted it to be. Okay. So I'm trying to pack this in so that we don't have, well, we fill it up as much as possible, and that we don't have a lot of air bubbles in there that's going to cause any type of blown up glass. That's not good. And because this does, it really does kind of wilt down. It is almost like it has a lot more water to it. So this will, after it gets canned, drop down a bit because it's been cooked inside the jar. Okay, so I have what Mother refers to as her stick. Stick is one of her favorite tools in the kitchen. No, she didn't come from a cave, but this does work. Okay, so I'm just making sure that I can pack down in there. I have plenty of room for another piece. Let's see where else I can pack in there. Oh yeah, I have another room right here for this nice piece to go in. And then I'm just going to kind of, as you can see, there's really, you know, as much as you can get in there. What's important is don't have all the air bubbles. And I'm going to be using this stick after I put the olive oil in as well to make sure everything is down in there. Okay, so I actually think that I'm going to be able to fit all of these in there. Yep, I sure am. Okay, so I have this jam-packed full. I'm actually going to cut this up just a little bit to fill in some of these other spaces. You know, canning is a wonderful way to preserve food, but you know, it does take a little bit more attention and in the way that you do it instead of freezing or anything. So when you do it, you want to pack it full. If you're going to be spending the time to do it right and pack it full, and then your family can enjoy it throughout the year. Okay, so I'm going to shove that one down in there too, and I'm going to say that that is nice and full. So, next thing I'm going to be taking, as I said, the Morton's all-natural canning and pickling salt. because you can use table salt and all that, but we don't. We just stick with the canning salt. That's how we know how to do it to not make it too salty or not salty enough. So we know for us, it's going to be a half a teaspoon in here for this size jar. And I'm going to set that to the side. And I'm just going to give it a tap so that it can kind of go in down in there, even though I am going to use the stick. That's how I'm going to do it. Now, next it's going to be our extra virgin olive oil. We just happen to have Bertolli. It probably was on sale. Either way, that's what we're using, but you could use a sunflower, grapeseed, safflower, avocado, whatever you like. Go on and do it. But we're doing olive oil because olive oil has an excellent flavor by itself, and it does help all of this. So, okay, we're going to start pouring down in there. Now you can see it's collecting a little bit on the top of the jar, so I'm going to give it just a moment. You can see the bubbles, and now I'm going to go here in between the slices as much as I can to make sure that the olive oil has seeped down the jar and is covering down below before I start to put anything more in the top. Okay, so as you can see, it started to fill. Now I'm going to put some more. And I like to be slow about this process because you don't want it to overflow. It's a waste of money and makes a mess. Two things that we're not keen on over here. Loss of money and messes. Okay, so as I said, once again with the stick. Now you could use a chopstick. That's actually what this is. Mother has a variety of sticks that she uses in the kitchen. Everything from fluffing rice to pulling out Tupperware out of the top of a cupboard because she is a tiny woman. I am not, but she is. So if I'm not around to pull something out for her or Ed, she's got her trusty stick. So sticks and spatulas are big around here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give it another bit of a push in there. And let me just take this. I want to see, okay, you see there's a little bit of the white. I want to be able to see that the olive oil has gone down into the whole area. So bear with me for a second while I do this to make sure we do not have any air pockets. And as you can see, it was full. It seeped down in there. So let's keep going. Okay, so what we're doing is we're adding it up to this point right here. I'm going to kind of tilt it. I don't want it to fall out. This point right here. And once more, I'm just making sure that it is seeping down into every little bit and crevice and corner. And the other thing is, this olive oil comes out so flavorful that you could, after you pull the eggplant out when you're eating it, you can take this olive oil. You don't have to add any spices to it, but you could make like an Italian bread oil from this. The eggplant gives it incredible flavor with the olive oil. You throw a little black pepper on there, maybe a smidge of oregano, and you have your own bread dipping sauce. So this olive oil is not going to go to waste after you open it and are eating the eggplant. At least it's not going to go to waste in our family. Now, I'm going to push down just a little. That looks acceptable to me. Let me wipe my hands here. And I'm going to be getting another paper towel for my lovely assistant right here, because this is where the distilled vinegar is going to come into play. Whenever you can, and especially if you've opened up can brand new out of the package, okay, we need it to seal, basically, is what it is. If there is oil, if there's salt, if there's any type of debris on the rim of the jar, then we're going to run into problems, and that's not what we want. So the distilled white vinegar is excellent to clean it without adding any type of, using bleach or dish soap or anything like that, which would be horrifying. So you don't have to do that. Just get some white vinegar, and that's going to clean it just perfect. So I'm going to soak this paper towel because I don't want to have any type any spot that's not clean, especially because we're using the oil to pack it in there. You know, sometimes you just use water when you're packing something, depending on what it is that you are canning. So I'm just going to take my time, and I'm actually going to fold this back over, and I'm going to do it one more time because I want to make sure I have this good and cleaned off. Okay, now don't touch it, because we're going to take our tops that we have right here, and we have this nifty utensil, which if you do any canning or canning is new to you, helps pick up that so you're not getting any type of oils or mistakes on there. Bam. Now I can touch it. Okay, and now I can take our ring and put this on, and tightly, make sure it's tight, get it in there, and then once again I'm going to take my vinegar rag just because I don't want to have any oil. Whoops, yes, natural born klutz here, watch out y'all. Any oil anywhere on this before I put it in the canner. I just want it to be clean, is basically. I don't want to pick something up because I am a natural klutz and have it fall out of my hand because I have oil. So these are the types of things I have to worry about when I'm in the kitchen. Okay, so that's done. And as I said, we're just for the interest of time, I'm going to only show you this one jar. And as you can see, there are no air bubbles. I think that this, you could see this on the camera. There are no air bubbles down in there. If you wanted to kick this up a notch, you could put eggplant and garlic. You could put eggplant and tomatoes. You could put eggplant and peppers. But for us, we're just doing our Japanese eggplant with the olive oil and the salt. So I am going to cut away and finish canning these up. And the next time you see me, we're going to be looking at the pressure canner. Be right back, y'all. Okay, here we are, y'all. I have, like I said, in the interest of time, I went on and finished up the rest of my jars with my eggplant that has the olive oil and the salt. And I also wanted to say, if you didn't want to use as much salt as that half a teaspoon, you can also salt it afterwards after you get it out of here. But okay, so I actually only had enough fresh eggplant for 5 of these jars. And this Presto, this is just a generic Presto pressure canning cooker from Walmart, actually holds 7. So what we do in case that happens, as it has today, I'm going to go on and put all the eggplant in here first. And then I'm going to show you what we do. It's very simple. We just have jars that are filled with filtered water. This is going to go in here to help balance out the cooking process, as well as if you, we do a little bit of prepping here. We really do. There could be natural disasters, and if our house is left standing, well, we need supplies. And so we look at this as it's sterile water. What if half the house was blown away but somebody got cut or something like that? We're going to be able to either drink or administer first aid. So this is not going to go to waste. As I said, this is filtered water that is going to become sterilized due to the pressure canning, and it also is going to help balance out because we only had 5 jars of the eggplant, and this is a 7-jar pot. So let me get that in there. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be pouring, about, let's see here, about 2.5 inches of water. I'm just going to eyeball it. This is not totally necessary. And of course, you could always look up other canning videos that we have on our site here on our channel. So I'm going to go ahead and pour in an eyeball about 2.5 inches of water. And it's not quite there yet, and the other thing is we're not done. After I put the 2.5 inches of water, I'm going to be adding a little bit of the distilled white vinegar to the water. Now I'm just going to stick my finger in there. I'm going to put just a little bit more. You can see this is a very large pot. Now we're talking. It's up to here to my first knuckle, and for my large hands, that's going to be 1 inch, 2 inch, and a half. That's going to be just good enough to eyeball it. Okay, now before I put the top on and the rocker and get going with cooking, as I said, our last ingredient, if you will, for our canning mission is going to be the use of the distilled white vinegar yet again. So really what you want to do, because this just keeps the water fresh and just make sure there's nothing going on in there. It just helps to can everything. And really, you see the top here, you could put a capful or you could put a teaspoon. You don't really have to, or you could just go bink and eyeball it. So, but for me, I'm putting 1 capful of the distilled white vinegar. Okay, so I have put all of my eggplant in here, the 5 jars, plus the 2 jars of the filtered water that's going to become sterilized and help balance this out. I have put the 2.5 inches of water with a teaspoon about, give or take, a cupful of the distilled white vinegar. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and line up, because this is the Presto, our arrows, so that this gets on there. Okay, so from this point, what I'm going to do is, and I'm actually not going to show you this because it does take quite a long time. I doubt you want to watch this video for 45 minutes watching a kettle go woo. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put this on high heat. This is going to come to a boil, and when the steam starts coming up out of here, because it's burping out all the air, it's making sure that it is absolutely doing it correctly. We're going to actually, after I said that comes out, that's when I put the rocker on. Okay, so once you have the steam come out, and you just carefully, don't touch anything, drop the rocker on it like that, and leave it for 45 whole minutes. We usually just put our kitchen timer on our stove, that way we know exactly. So it's going to go like this for 45 minutes. Now the next part is really crucial as well. Just turn the heat off. That's it. Don't remove the rocker. You want to leave the rocker on there because it will come down to room temperature. Yes, it takes a long time, but it will come down to room temperature on its own eventually. And if you leave the rocker on like you're supposed to, what that's going to do is give you that seal. Absolutely making sure that your jars have been sealed up correctly. We don't want any botulism, we don't want any poisoning, and we don't want to waste our time. That's why we use the vinegar around the top of the jar before we seal it up. And that is why we leave the rocker on after you turn the heat off and let it come down to temperature, to room temperature on its own. So I'm going to go on and do all of this, and when you see me next time, I'm going to be doing a taste test and sharing with you a few more of the ways that you can use this eggplant. Alright y'all, stay tuned. Alright y'all, here we are. Everything has been packed in the canner. It boiled for as long as it did in the pressure canner. I did everything that I said I was going to do. I waited, I put the rocker on, I let it go for 45 minutes, then I just turned the heat off and let it naturally come down to room temperature. So this is much later. Everything is cooler because you don't want to put any type of hot glass under water that's cold. It will immediately break, and you don't want to waste money, you don't want to waste your time. So this is our finished product. You can see it almost looks like pickles because it's small and it has the green, but it's not. It's the canned Japanese eggplant. And you can tell we don't have any air bubbles. Yes, we have a little bit of room in there, but that's what you need for that. So I've done everything exactly the way that I said I did in the kitchen. And so here we are. Let's taste test my favorite. And right here, I'm just going to show you. You hear that pop? Then you know you've done it right because you absolutely need it to be sealed so nothing grows, you don't accidentally get botulism. I don't know if you get botulism, but you wouldn't accidentally get it. So I have a fork, and then because it's me and I tend to dribble all over the place, I have my paper towel. So I'm going to do a taste test, even though I already know this tastes good, but now you'll see me. And here we go. I'm going to grab some of the smaller pieces that I stuffed on top when I ran out of the longer ones because I sliced them lengthwise, and then the edges that the top of the eggplant that I took off, I ended up going back and cutting those to make sure I could put it all on the top and not waste anything. So this is, of course, the Japanese eggplant, extra virgin olive oil, and some salt. So this is so good. You can taste the eggplant.
with that lovely sweet taste, just enough salt to bring the sugar out, but you could also taste in the back of the palate a little bit of the olive oil. It's actually an incredible balance that the olive oil doesn't overpower the eggplant, or the eggplant, it doesn't overpower the olive oil. It's actually a perfect mix. So I was going to tell you certain things that you can use for this. Now, if you wanted to, you could just serve it by itself. You could serve it as a side. You could put it over some bread and eat it. You could put it in a little dish for an antipasto platter, with sausage and olives and things like that. But for me, well, I know me and I know this recipe, and so I will just be eating this as is, probably with a little piece of meat, and that's going to be my meal. Alright, y'all, if you really like this video, and I hope that you do, please leave a comment below. Please let me know what you think. Please share. And as always, I'm going to say bye, be blessed, y'all, be good to each other, and keep living that twisty life. Thank y'all. See you next time.